Hello, 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 you guys. It is Ebony, it is I, and we are here to talk about TVFS. I have such a brief message. Fuck all y'all bitches. Anyways, let's get straight into it. Today I want to talk about her debut. I actually mentioned this in like January. Um, but honestly, because it's kind of the season of the album of the Make It or Break It kind of album. What the fuck? The Make It or Break It album. I wanna go over it again. I'm like, this camera is is looking a color I've never seen before. Hold on. Yeah, I just want to discuss it a little bit more deeply. So we're gonna talk a little bit about genre, about visuals, about impact, and then we can kind of discuss timeline or things I think that might be relevant to the timeline. Mostly because, very interestingly, I was looking back at some of my videos, like things I've made for TBFS and things I've actually made for Tyla. And there's a part of me that thought that there might be some intersection there. I could definitely tell that there would be some interference with Tyla's release. And I thought, mind you, the album just came out, it's been less than a week, so we'll see. Cancer season was standing out to me. Obviously, at this point, we're already in Leo season, but we're not that far out. Like July isn't even over. So I'm like, that's why I'm like, we'll see what timeline is saying, right? One thing I will say is that I think that at this point in time, I think that she's basically complete with it. And when I say complete, I don't necessarily mean that it's all sequenced and it's all recorded. I feel like this person has a set list of ideas to work with. There's a lot of people where when they create their album, they're like, okay, well, we wrote 100 songs for this album. At that point in time, they work them down from there. Like TBFS is in that same process, so this could definitely be someone who has, I'll just say, closer to 100 songs just kind of lined up. And so, what's going to make this final? Whatever's going to make this final idea, I think, already exists. I honestly think it's a thing of where this person might even be overthinking whatever that she's already created, and that it's kind of good to go, or she has a strong idea of what is done or can be done, but there just might be a need to kind of be a little bit perfectionistic or go over this. I don't think this person is under a label yet. I think this person could be worried about kind of being picked up or being noticed by the right kinds of people, especially feeling like maybe she doesn't have the platform or the leverage that she would like at this time. I think this person might also worry, like, if I begin something, will these people accept my ideas, especially if these are things that I was working on before I even got here. I'm also getting a strong energy that reminds me a lot of "We Belong Together" or "It's Like That" by Mariah Carey. If you don't know the lore behind that, basically she had had the Emancipation album done, and then she ends up going back to Atlanta to work with Jermaine, and then they end up at the very very end of the process. They end up writing what would end up being some of the biggest. If no, "We Belong Together" is not only the biggest song off the album, but quite literally the biggest hit of basically the decade. Like, it was unreal how big that song was. So I feel like she could definitely be in this place where she could definitely be having very very pivotal ideas, especially if there is a whole repertoire of things, and then maybe one more or two, just a couple more songs come in, into her, I'll just say, her range, into her area, and it kind of shifts her album or her perspective, or kind of completes what we will see as a breakthrough. Honestly, me even bringing up Emancipation of Mimi, this could be a highly highly successful album. I'll say this much: I feel like this person always had a good idea or always had a very strong trajectory in life. That's the whole premise of this thread. But I do think that she was dealing with not necessarily having the means or the funds or even the support. And there's a part of me that kind of feels like, I don't know if I mentioned this in the TBFS video, but this energy of like the teacher will appear when the student is ready. I feel like it's a thing of like she always had this kind of promise over her life, but she didn't necessarily have the means or the funds. So this is someone who's trying to manifest a certain kind of opportunities. Trying to manifest certain kinds of opportunities. I feel like this will definitely put her in that position of feeling like I definitely have the means or the leverage to create what it is that I want. I actually feel like this is going to be an album that's going to perform very, very well. This could definitely be an album that has a good amount of hits. I'm actually thinking this could definitely be, I'll say anywhere from 3 to 7. This could just even, be a number like 5, right? But I do think 3 to 7 hits. This is definitely a project very similar to Short and Sweet by Sabrina Carpenter, where there's definitely 3 or 4 songs. And so this is someone who's definitely going to fully see herself as a result of the success of this, right? The same way that Beyonce, obviously she did have things to prove with her she did have things to prove with her second album, but the first had already been so successful that whatever that she put out was going to be a success. She just kind of needed to expound upon that, versus like no shade, like a Tyla who like is still kind of trying to prove to the general public that she's important or she deserves to kind of be in that top space. I don't think this person has a lot of confidence in the ideas, even though they're just like, okay, well, I'm going to continue working. Um, I don't think this person is in a very good place financially, or just really isn't in I just saying like this could specifically just not liking the job. I don't think this person is necessarily in an environment that would really support or foster this creativity, despite her feeling like, okay, well, I just need to continue doing it because it's what I care about. This is my passion. I'm thinking about Hot Tubs by Tyla. Specifically, that song is about her addressing the fact that, especially the whole color thing, people just kind of misunderstand her, or just, were kind of deliberate about not liking her. She's just like, please just, it's essentially just like, I don't really care if you like me, listen to the music because it's good. I'm not apologizing. It is what it is, right? I could also, this might even be relevant to that. I think this person might be learning a lot from other girls' rollouts and their mistakes at this time. And so this might even be someone who's very much so, Beauty Queen came out, and I'm like, I think this is someone who's definitely focused on making her narrative and the thematics of her look of her album as strong as possible. This could also be someone who's, I said this before, like there could be a glow up that could be very specific to this person, changing the looks or shifting the looks in order to kind of be presentable or kind of get into album mode, like really be able to convey this idea or this messaging that she's going to be delivering, especially in this debut. I think it's gonna go really well. I do think within the next, I'll just say within the next year, this is just to give it a wide scape, but this could be something that I'm not saying it will. I'm just saying this could be something that happens next week, just hypothetically. But I do think this is something that's going to be very well received by the people. I think this is going to be something that gets a lot of opportunity and support from the label as well, because they see it as something that is worthy, especially because there is so much unification or clarity in the idea from the presentation of her, like her body, just her look in the public, the sound, what she actually wants the theme or the narrative of the album to be. I also want to say that she could definitely have success that mimics somebody else. I mentioned Beyonce, I mentioned Mariah Carey. Also, I mentioned Tyla, who gets a lot of like daughter allegations. I feel like this could definitely be somebody who has a success that's very similar to someone who's come before her. Like that daughter standing out to me, especially creative. To me, this kind of feels like, I know y'all bitches hate this, but like Beyonce is coming up a lot. I just feel like people definitely respect her on a level that respect her and feel like she contributes on a level that is definitely akin to some of the legends or the greats that she's come before. There's a strong energy of respect around this body of work. I also want to say that this person, she might not be somebody like, Tyler Loki had crazy kind of obsessive stands before, she had a whole bunch going for her. This could definitely be people who following this album, people could be obsessive over her. Like if she doesn't have a super strong fan base. I'm thinking about somebody like Trim, who definitely has like the general public's attention, but she doesn't have a centralized like fan base yet. She could definitely be somebody who moves to that kind of energy of like the GP likes me, or like I'm, kind of the darling, to, oh, I have specifically dedicated stands. I've also said before, I feel like could be somebody who has a very interesting play on natural hair. So this could definitely be looks, like the hair could be significant in this. Locks actually came out, so this could be someone with locks or who's going to lock up their hair. Just in general, being a very beautiful person is very relevant to TBFS at this time, especially around the debut. Like there could be a lot of conversation about how good she looks, and especially how this might be relevant. Like like Loud by Rihanna had a very specific narrative, and she played into it with her looks. She could look amazing, but it could also go very with the album. Like I said, I know I've talked about this, so we're gonna see how contradictory it feels at this point in time. But yeah, we're gonna get into sounds. I think sex and love could definitely be a very, very big thematic of this body of work. I've talked about wealth and opulence, but this could definitely be within the context of love, like wanting to, I'm thinking about like rich sex. I'm not saying it's going to be like that song specifically, but it could definitely be like there is an air of wealth, of enjoying it. And I said before, a lot of that could be tied to the past life as well. But specifically, like sex and yearning, this could definitely be a very sensual or intimate body of work, or she could just be very, very sexy in her delivery. This might be someone who is addressing possibly what she and love. In general, this could be someone. In general, this could be someone who is referencing her struggles in life, her struggles in love. This could definitely be the struggles of. I feel like this is something that kind of, it talks about not being loved into a place of being loved. It definitely kind of seems like, I don't know if this is someone who has recently gone through a breakup, or just like referencing the past and how hard the past was to coming to a point of being loved could be significant. And I do think that this is something that's going to be educated. Sorry, it's going to be explained well. I said educated because I'm actually thinking about the miseducation of Lauryn Hill. Lauryn Hill, I know that she actually had gone through a breakup and then she was dealing with the birth of her first son. So that is, that it was a very relevant time to create an album like that. The thing about it is, I don't necessarily think it's about heartbreak and growing through heartbreak, especially in terms of self growth, the way that it was for Lauryn Hill. I think this is someone who was just talking about love, just wanting to kind of spread intimacy and joy and happiness and positivity in the world, or kind of acknowledging what is not good or pain that people go through in order to kind of transmute that, if that makes sense. Like to me, it kind of seems like enjoying the feeling of love, and learning about it in order to kind of give the concept back to the world, rather than this being like, okay, well, this is what I've learned about love through heartbreak and through the disappointments I've experienced in my life. The way that Lauren Hill was like, Lauren Hills was definitely more self-reflective about heartbreak, where I don't feel like this is necessarily about heartbreak. I think it's about learning how to love, how to give love back to people, how to give love back to the self, how to experience love with other people, possibly going through heartbreak, kind of similar to Lauren Hill, but not necessarily in that same exact vein. I want to say this too. People might think that this person has very strong thematics, and I think that might even be why Beyonce came through, because I mentioned that in my video for Tyler the other day, where it's just like Beyonce's never somebody who tells us that an album is going to be one way, then the album comes and we're like, oh, so what the fuck is this? Like, she's always very clear in what she wants to display, and what message that she wants to send out. I think people could think this person does an amazing job of that. I think people could also feel like people had, not even to like bastardize other people's contributions, but this person might have a very sober, innovative take on addressing love in a way that a lot of people kind of fall flat with. It's kind of just like, oh my god, like I have a new crush. That's what I'm trying to say. There's nothing wrong with that. I just think this is a very fun yet mature take on it, and I think that people think that she did justice to whatever it is that she decided to take on. Yeah, like I do think this is going to end up a lot better than she thinks. This might even be something that grows over time, because it seems like it definitely goes from like good to amazing, right? So it's definitely like maybe she thinks it's going to be good and other people think it's amazing, or maybe over time this ends up aging super well. I don't think it's ever going to go super bad initially, but I did talk about sabotage, and now I'm worried about if there's sabotage and maybe being able to release this or being able to act on this. It kind of seems like there's somebody else who's very desperate, and then that's why I brought up Tyler, because I mentioned that it kind of seems like somebody wants Tyler to be in the forefront, and I worry that this person might deal with a certain level of sabotage. I'm not saying that it's because of Tyler. It kind of coincided, where it kind of seemed like she wanted to get somebody out the way, and then TBFS was dealing with people who didn't want her to go places. So I do think that there's a lot of people who are trying to prevent this. This might be like delaying the release or things like that. I don't actually feel like this is not a lot of negative criticism. I actually don't feel like this is specifically negative criticism, but specifically trying to block the release of this. I also mentioned before that I thought that this was definitely going to have a lot of Afrobeats, but very interestingly enough, I actually don't know if this is a project that people can necessarily assign into one specific category. I don't really recant my statement. I'll put it like this. Let's say an album has let's say an album has 15 tracks, right? Let's say 7 of them are Afro beats, but then there are 3, or no, let's say there are 5 that are pure pop, and then how many are left? And then there are 3 that are R&B. You could like hypothetically, you could call that an Afrobeats album, but it's a little bit more genre bending than that, you know what I'm trying to say? Like hypothetically, you could call Renaissance house, you could call Renaissance R&B, you could call Renaissance pop. All of these things kind of make sense. Do I think that there might be a majority where the sound is leaning? Yes, but I do think that this is something that has something for everybody. And I never said, let me sit there now. I never said I thought this was going to be 100% Afrobeats from front to back. I always thought that there would be a majority, and I still kind of stand on that. I just think that it might be hard to classify it as one, or it could fit under several categories. This honestly just might be very genre bending, where let's say hypothetically it's Afrobeats, but it does have a very strong, like, people were like, oh, I thought Tyler was going to do African EDM. It might be something like that, where the genre bending is so extreme that it is hard to classify it as this or that. So there might be a lot of experimentation with the Afrobeat sound, amongst other things. I think this could actually be very, very experimental. People might feel like it was very daring to do, and like it was well executed, but it was very, very daring to do for a debut. I think it definitely delivers whatever that it promises, for sure. But I do think that it's shocking to people. It's shocking. It's different. Like, I think you're gonna hear this and be like, I'm thinking about the Nicki Minaj meme where she's like, "You're not gonna get it the first time."
You're not going to get the song the first time you hear it. After the second and third time, you're going to be like, whoa, what is this? It sounds nothing like anything that's out right now. You know, the lyrics are very.
I'm gonna be honest though. I don't know if people are necessarily hating during some of their promotion, feeling like, "Oh, this is not gonna go well," just for it to go very, very well at the end of the day. I think a lot of people are hate watching, or watching, hoping to see her fail, thinking like, "Oh, you can't beat X, Y, and Z," or if hypothetically we're just saying this. If A-pop was the most experimental African sound that people had heard, people are like, "You're never gonna outdo something like that." Like I said, these are just hypotheticals, and then yeah, I think a lot of people are going to be very upset about how wrong, not even like the people in the story, but just in general, people who have perceived this person can be very wrong about how they thought this was going to fail, or this wasn't going to really connect to people, or it wasn't going to perform well. I also think that the success is definitely a lot bigger than just like it's a lot bigger than just like another black girl on the pop charts. I think that this is someone who's doing it for specific margins. Like I said, telling specific people's stories is definitely, it was imperative that it succeeded for these reasons, and that might be why, you know, certain things end up going well. It's not just, oh, if people like it. It's definitely like the world needed to hear the story. I just don't think, I hate to say it, I just think that there's a lot of doubt within TBFS and then with other people that this is going to go super well just for it to kind of go super well. I don't know. If you were to ask me, I think this person is at a place where it's like the ideas, what it should be, are laid out. It's just a matter of picking. I think this person is definitely averse to kind of picking, or this might be like procrastination or kind of like feeling paralyzed at the need to make certain choices, especially because, you know, if you write, if you're a creative, you can get, you know, you be an artist and you be sensitive about your shit. So I can kind of understand this feeling of like, damn, I don't want to abandon certain things, or I just want to make sure that it goes so right that sometimes you're afraid to kind of at all, you know, hoping to avoid failure. Yeah. First of all, I definitely look like my mom right now.
Okay.
Okay.
So you go the white?
Yeah, I'll do the white.
Yeah, we got the white together.
Purple a little. Yeah.
Oh.
Hi.
Okay.
In terms of timeline, the only thing I'm gonna say is Earth is coming out strongly here. There are 3 Earth signs a year. We have Virgo, we have Capricorn, we have Taurus. If you were to ask me, like I said, within the next year or so, this might be a project that, even if we get her identity much before this album actually comes to fruition, I think within the next year or so we will see the album. Like, you know how Tyler had Water, how do I say this? Been Thinking came out in January. Water came out in July. Water goes viral like August, September, October. Tyler announces her album to be released in March. So it's a little bit over a year from when Tyler really started to get mainstream attention that she decided to put that album out. But specifically after Water had gone viral, it was less than a year after that she put her album. She announced the album about 4 months later, and then after the announcement, it came out 3 months after that. I'm just gonna say Earth signs, Earth seasons seem very specific to me in terms of this elevating her career, or her getting release dates, or her being able to move forward. Virgo and Taurus seasons seem very significant to me, so I'll say that much. But just Earth in general, it definitely seems like when the sun is in an Earth sign, this might be when this is released. Also, hypothetically, if this is an album that came out like next May, for example, I think that would definitely be good in terms of like having a summer song, because May allows it to kind of grow, especially because it's early, right? Especially if this is like later May, like mid to late May. I think that definitely gives it ample time to kind of be enjoyed through the summer. I think that's not a bad time. Like May and June, I think, are definitely the best times to release an album, especially if you're going for something like a smash of the summer or something like that. I think that she may have a couple features. These might be people who are her label mates or are very, very good friends of her. These are people who she really loves. These might just be very successful songs. If you're to ask me, I don't see more than 3 people. Like, I don't think this is going to be very, very feature heavy at all. Yeah, I think that this person is definitely really beloved by men. I think a lot of these features will be male. I don't think she necessarily, I think she will like the features. Like, I think she'll like the work that goes on, but in the end, I feel like she may feel like she ended up with the perfect album. Like, things went really well. I did also talk about, I want to say this too. I did also talk about that she might even work with this person, like her partner, multiple times on one project. The same Beyonce worked with Jay-Z several times on her debut as well. So that might be why it's quote unquote feature heavy. This might even be the label that she is at. Has a lot more men, that she can work with, or a lot more men that are big fans of her. Yeah, I just think that, like I said, I think that she's approaching a lot of these things with doubt. Like, oh my God, are people gonna like this? Are people gonna respond to this? Is this actually the right idea? And I think it's definitely a perfect idea. It's definitely going to go really well. It could also bring her and her person together. I know for a fact, I do want to say this too. I did mention that I thought that they would definitely be in at least a visual together, but this could easily be a song as well, especially if they, obviously work together on a song.
And the person will be able to tell the past, the present, and even the future. And that is why it's normally announced specifically when there is something to be filled. Because of the determine your past, your present, and even your future. And here we have the Yadi, the Gogoy, and the Dubai. These are traditional.
In terms of the performance of this project, there's a part of me that feels like this could underperform initially. Like it feels like there could be some sabotage, or it could just low key bomb just to kind of be beloved over time. Like Alligator Bites Never Heal by Dochi. It did like 11K the first week, but then like by the time that the Grammys came on, it had sold like 100,000. And I wonder if it's even got like a gold plaque or whatever yet. Like it's definitely one of those things that I think can have a comeback. It just might be initially kind of disappointing. But like I said, there could also be some level of sabotage here. It might even be, I hate to say this too, I wonder if she's kind of not prepared for the response, and that might be the issue. She might have expected to kind of do, like, let's say hypothetically, this is someone who thought that she would do 50, and then she ends up doing like 200 in the first week. I just think that she's kind of ill prepared, because I think that it could definitely go super, super well. It could honestly be super, super, super big. I honestly wonder if this person might even feel like she doesn't necessarily have a lot of support from the people who are closest. Like, I wonder if it might even just be just a very sad time where she might feel like she's incurred a lot of personal loss, even if this is not even necessarily the project itself is doing poorly, if you know what I'm trying to say. Like, it just kind of feels like everything is good, but for some reason things feel bad. So it might be like a personal issue that she's dealing with, or like some personal sabotage, maybe finding out someone was a snake, but it not necessarily stopping the success of the project, but it might just be a life thing that she has to deal with. It could also be a lot of jealousy, like dealing with people, possibly people trying to sabotage the performance of this because they're jealous, even though they can't necessarily. Because I keep saying that, like sabotage, or just like there are a lot of unhappy feelings around the time that this might come out. I'm gonna leave this here for now. I'm like, there's nothing else that I really want to ask. Yeah, if you were to ask me in terms of first week sales, I think this could definitely be closer to six figures. I'll just say that much. It might be 200. I'll definitely say anywhere from, I say anywhere from 80 to 200,000, but this could definitely exceed that. I think it definitely is going to be in the six figures, even if it was like 100, right? But yeah, I'm gonna leave this here for now. I didn't intend for this to be super, super long. I hate to say though, this made me walk away with more questions than I expected, but we'll see what you guys ask me. I'll see you in the very next one.